Collisions have several properties. The first is the elasticity of the collision. If a collision is elastic, no kinetic energy is lost when the two objects collide. So this means that there is conservation of momentum. Momentum is equal to the mass times the velocity. So the total momentum in a system will be equal to, or the magnitude of the total momentum in a system will be equal to the mass times the velocity of each separate object added together. If a collision is inelastic, this does not hold true because some of the energy is converted possibly to potential energy because the kinetic energy is not maintained throughout the collision. Momentum is really useful because it can help us determine other factors such as the force in the collision or the average force in the collision. This is because we have another concept called impulse. An impulse is equal to the integral of force in terms of time. An impulse is equal to the change in momentum. So we can use this because this is useful in a collision because while the momentum of the whole system, the magnitude will be the same, each separate object can have a change in momentum. We can use this to find the force if we know the impulse or the change of momentum and the time period the collision is occurring over, or we can find vice versa the change in momentum if we know the force being applied or the time interval. So we have an AP question which is relevant to this. A ball of mass m is dropped from rest from a height h and collides elastically with the floor, rebounding to its original height. What is the magnitude of the average force applied by the floor on the ball during the time the ball is in contact with the floor? And then it gives us a list of options. So we want to find out what this is. So we need to find out, our unknown here is the force. So in order to know this, we're also, in order to know what the force is, we're going to need to know the time interval and the change in momentum. The change in momentum isn't too difficult because we know the initial velocity of the object and its mass, and we also know its end velocity and mass because we know how much energy it has in the beginning because all it has is gravitational potential energy, and all of this is converted to kinetic energy by the time it's hitting the floor, and we know its final velocity as well. However, we don't know the time interval that it's in contact with the floor with, so we cannot determine this. And this is answer E on the AP exam, question 8. It cannot be determined without knowing the length of time that the ball is in contact with the floor, because that time interval is essential to find the value of that integral, which will and which is equal to momentum and give us the force.